Hi, my name is Elliott, and today I'm going to be the Chronically Online Gay deep diving into Tana Mongeau's career. So, first of all, I have a swivel chair, so I apologize if it makes little swivelly noises, but like, a bitch loves to swivel. I just moved into a new apartment, and I have my first swivel chair, and it's really exciting. You don't care. So, now we're going to talk about Tana Mongeau. Tana Mongeau was born on June 24th, 1998 in Henderson, Nevada, which is a suburb just outside of Las Vegas, and growing up, her childhood was anything but normal, and this is where I'm going to put in my first disclaimer. So, Tana Mongeau built a multi-million-dollar career based off of being overdramatic, racist, and literal lies. Yes, thank you, Chloe. So a lot of the information I have is information that comes out of her own mouth, which has to be taken with a huge grain of salt because she is a known liar and has been called out about that her entire career through people she makes story times about, her own friends, and herself. She literally leans into being a liar. Tana grew up as an only child with two abusive parents. Her father,
my name's Richard, they call me Cowboy, the ones that like me,
who ran a swimming pool cleaning business, and her mother, Rebecca, who had her at 43 and a lot of social anxiety and never had a job. Her parents had a very toxic, emotionally abusive relationship with each other and her.
Reply back to your mom and dad, literally. And all your mom said was, how's your day going, with a little sun emoji.
Yeah, but then she's like, I need money.
So she says she grew up dirt poor and makes fun of herself for being like trailer trash. But then when they show her childhood home in her reality show, Tana Turns 21, it's like a very normal, like 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
I want to see how ghetto one of my old houses was. Go left here. It's like the first left.
This one?
Yeah. So ghetto, huh? Isn't that so insane that I lived there for like 5 years?
Oh my God.
Ew, it's so ghetto. Okay, can we leave? I'm so happy that I never have to live like this again.
She had an iPhone in 2014, and there's other hints about her life that show that she just probably had like a lower middle class to middle class background, not like a super dirt poor background, like she tries to lie about. Anyway, she grew up in Henderson, Nevada, and she had an extremely traumatic childhood that she doesn't remember much of. And then she says the only stuff that really made her happy as a kid/preteen was going on YouTube and watching her favorite YouTubers, most specifically Jenna Marbles and Shane Dawson. And then as she grew into being a teenager, she wanted to do the same thing for younger kids that Jenna Marbles and Shane Dawson did for her. So yeah, Tana and I are the same age, and she's the first YouTuber that I can remember that comes from my generation of kids that watched YouTubers growing up and then wanted to be that kind of person. She was the only one that I can remember around my age in 2016 that was doing YouTube besides like Alexis Giselle. And she was the first one from that generation to successfully do that without having a built-in platform. Like even Alexis Giselle kind of from like that first generation of 2014 YouTube, I feel like Tana is the first big one from like the second generation of like the Logan Paul, David Dobrik, 2018 YouTube, you know? And she's the first one from the second generation that was successful for not having a built-in platform on Vine. Like David Dobrik, Liza Koshy, and Logan Paul all had a built-in platform, but Tana literally went from 0 subscribers in 2015 to 2 million at the end of 2016. Why? Tana blew up for making really crazy, wild story times in that whole like story time era of 2015 and 2016 YouTube. She and Gabby Hanna were the two biggest YouTubers to blow up from that. And it's not shocking that the two people who blew up by telling super embellished stories, where they're probably lying and playing the victim, we found out that neither of them are the best people. Tana's first video on her channel that's public is titled Hairdresser from Hell and was uploaded in May of 2015. And the video was genuinely pretty funny and still relevant over 10 years later. It literally was a trending TikTok sound on TikTok last year.
I was like, I want a bleach and tone. Like, can you do a bleach and tone for me, please? Like, smiley face emoji.
So throughout 2015, she's uploading pretty consistently and uploading just because she loves it and it's just fun for her. She's doing story times and stuff, but she's also doing like the Bean Boozled challenge with her best friend Amari. She's vlogging like her trip to San Diego with her one of her best friends at the time, Bella. And even before her big viral video, she was growing rapidly for a few reasons. The biggest of which is she was extremely relatable, especially in the sense that you could tell that she had been through some stuff. For example, her best friend died a few months before she started YouTube. She was becoming the same person that Shane Dawson and Jenna Marbles were for her. Like her 10-minute videos every other day were the only 10 minutes that her fans were happy and could escape from their terrible like home or school life, you know? I must note that YouTubers in 2015 and 2016 were mostly in their mid-20s, like giving advice to teenagers. Tana was like 18 giving advice to teenagers, and her story times, especially in 2015 and 2016, are more viewed as a cautionary tale, like don't do this dumbass shit that I've done before, you know?
And so I spent a few weeks kind of devising a plan to make this guy like me. And I came to the conclusion that the fastest way to get noticed by him or to make him like me would be to smoke weed. And now I want to go back, find my little bitch ass high school self and punch her in her fucking nose. Do not ever do something that you would not normally do to make a guy like. Don't do drugs, don't smoke weed to make a guy like you. Oh my god. Now I just want to hit myself in the face. Don't ever do that. Don't ever change yourself to make anyone like you.
But what was very popular at this time was like the clean girl aesthetic, like the Zoella, the Tila Dunn, the My Life is Ava, the Lord DIY, the very like sunshine and rainbows saturated content, you know?
Literally, my life is beaches every single night, messy buns and Christmas lights.
Your husband doesn't fuck you because you're fugly, like loose pussy ass cunt.
She was the vulgar as fuck, pretty, bottle blonde girl that we've already seen gain success in mainstream media. Like the Chelsea Handler, the Nikki Glaser, the Eliza Schlesinger, and then breaking the glass ceiling for hot brunettes, Whitney Cummings. So instead of watching DIY Halloween costumes for teens or listening to Literally My Life, a lot of people liked hearing about a 17-year-old dating a fuckboy.
Let me nut in you and fucking let's keep it, like, you know?
So anyhow, she's gaining on YouTube for being this young, relatable, self-aware, funny, fake blonde girl who has wild stories. Lies. From her days growing up in Vegas. And then on New Year's Eve 2015, she posts a video that causes her to go absolutely viral.
He fucked me with a toothbrush.
So she posted a video with the title, I got banged with a toothbrush. So for the record, the video is a story about a time where a guy started a rumor that he fucked her with a toothbrush, but they didn't hook up or do anything.
The bristles, man. Like the bristles were in her vagina.
However, as we know in Trump's America, truth is relative and facts are irrelevant. So at the beginning of 2016, we're introduced to her first boyfriend, Summer Hollingsworth, who she dates for about a year and a half. And they seem like a very relatable teen couple. And by relatable, I mean most teens in their first relationship are extremely emotionally immature and toxic. And this relationship was obviously no exception because it's Tana. There was cheating on both sides, extreme jealousy, and according to Tana, Summer stole like $70,000 from her. I wasn't following her at the time, but it doesn't seem like her brand had much to do with her boyfriend. And honestly, a lot of her story times have to do with like hooking up with guys and doing like wild single girl shit, so it makes sense that Summer wasn't the best for her brand. Maybe on her vlog channel, but she privated all those videos, so I can't look. So in the first half of 2016, Tana's blowing up for telling relatable stories like iPhone repairman broke my phone, nail lady robbed me of $1,000, my stalker broke into my house, Coachella ticket scam. So also just want to say that even from the very beginning of her career, Tana was extremely problematic. Her Coachella story is her talking about a girl who scammed her out of tickets in 2016, but then the girl came forward and disproved Tana's story and showed that Tana lied. Her stalker story, which is her most viewed video in the first half of 2016, has just like a bunch of gaping holes in the story that make absolutely no sense. She's always like, he left like a photos on my pillow, or he left a smiley face on my like bathroom mirror, but then she also talks about how she has security cameras everywhere, but then she can't catch a stalker. Like, boo, what? This is also like never like brought up. She also pulled a Logan Paul 2 years before Logan Paul. She literally filmed a dead body. She collabed with this YouTuber named Shannon Rose, and they like go to Venice for the day, and they open up a bathroom door and see a dead body that she films and uploads to the internet, which is fucking insane. And then she tells a story time about it afterwards, which like the way she tells it is about how inconvenient it was to her. Like, oh my god, this would only happen to us. This would only happen to me. Like how crazy this entire situation was, but like not like having any empathy or compassion for the victim. She privated both the filming the dead body and the story time afterwards now, so you can't find it. It's interesting that Tana did that 2 years before Logan Paul and stuck by with literally zero repercussions. So as we get to the summer of 2016, in May of 2016, she hits her first million, and then throughout the summer of 2016, she starts collabing with bigger YouTubers like Ricky Dillon, Gabby Hanna, and Cody Ko. And also, as everyone knows at this point, Cody Ko allegedly hooked up with Tana multiple times when she was 17 and 18 years old. I'll get more into it later, but I definitely believe Tana in this story specifically for a myriad of reasons. But if you want some more proof, if you watch their first ever collab together, filmed a month before she turned 18, in the video you can see Cody checking her out as she walks away, and she also makes a joke about his dick being really small.
No, I'm just like, I can barely see myself. I'm like really small, I'm like really small, I'm like really small, I'm like really small.
When the whole context for why she even revealed that she hooked up with Cody Ko is,
who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with? Oh my god, do no one look at me, Cody Ko.
this isn't proof, of course, but like if I was a lawyer prosecuting him, I would add this tidbit to my case. Yeah, your gay ass would love to bring up dick size in court, huh? Also, in order to advance her career, her story times at this point are getting like even crazier. Like 2015, Tana is like, a woman at Target called me a harlot. In 2016, Tana is like, Mitchell Musso stole my money for coke. I will say, if you want to get the vibe of her and her stories in summer 2016, one of her videos that is genuinely pretty funny and sounds pretty believable for the most part is the first time she ever drank alcohol.
So I get ready, I have brown hair, I look like Michael Jackson, it's really fucking casual. Why I thought it was okay to dye my hair fucking black blows my mind because I was so ugly.
She also in 2016 goes on her first ever Tana and Friends tour, which Tana recently said literally that tour in 2016 was she would go up on stage and tell a 10-minute story time and then just like do a Q&A and meet and greet. And personally, I would be livid if I paid even like $40 for that. As we come into the fall of 2016, her story times are getting like even crazier. Like she has a story time literally called I Was Arrested for Drug Possession Felonies, which the people that were in that story time with her all tweeted right after she posted that being like, this was literally the biggest lie ever. And I'm just gonna pause here for a second and I'll say my hypothesis on most of her story times. And I'm an expert to speak on this because I am also a huge liar and exaggerator. Like I've literally been a waiter twice in my life and I did it just to like lie to every single table. And that's also a lie, Elliott. You were a waiter because you were laid off from your tech job. Just like, oh yeah, my grandpa lives in a villa in Switzerland. Like, I'm saving up money to move there next year. I went to Harvard, but I wanted to be around normal people, so I became a waiter. My ex-girlfriend is pregnant with our baby, and even though we broke up because I realized I'm gay, I'm still gonna raise a baby with her. You know, just like fun little lies like that. Also, so fun to do that in like Ubers or Uber pools. Just lie about everything. But I will say you should balance it out and also do the exact opposite and like tell everything to like Uber drivers, complete strangers, just whoever, just literally spill everything about your life. And just to hear people's takes. And like, who gives a shit because you're never gonna see them again, you know? Like when I was 19, my biggest fear was realized because I threw a party where literally one person showed up. I'm like still triggered by that to this day, Jesus Christ. So the next day I was like in an Uber and I was telling the Uber driver about how I felt like I had no friends and all this kind of stuff, and we had like a mini therapy session for 60 minutes, and then I felt so much better. Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyways, like if I were in Tana's position when I was 17 or 18, I would probably have something small happen and then over-exaggerate it like on my Snapchat story or like to a friend, and then go film and say similar stuff that I over-exaggerated previously, and then add some new things that happened from other stories in my life, and lie so hard that I would literally gaslight myself and convince myself that I'm telling the truth so I can also convince like, my teenage audience. Word of advice, kids, if you're trying to lie to your parents or whoever, the lie is much more convincing if it's A, closer to the truth, and B, you convince yourself that you're telling the truth as you're lying. You know, get that Oscar girl. Really, let's like sell it. Like that's how Trump is able to do it so well, is that he partially believes his own delusion.
You know, I'm basically a truthful person, but and frankly, no, but frankly, no.
And then if I were Tana, I would also convince myself that I have to create a more entertaining truth for my career. And as she's getting bigger and bigger and more people are getting involved in her stories, the trolls on the internet that want to like see her fall and also want to call her out for lying, start calling her out for lying in her comments. There was literally a whole meme across the internet about YouTubers being over dramatic. Like it's about YouTubers, but it was about Tana. And then also at the same time, besides just her storytime content, her non-storytime content is also getting wilder and wilder and more sexual. Like her most viewed video ever, she posted in October 2016, and it was her literally peeing on Shane Dawson. I wish I was joking. I really do. And it was because Shane encouraged it and asked her in their previous collab that in the next collab, she should pee on him. Like, what the fuck? She also did like a sexual truth and dare with JC Caitlin, who she was literally hooking up with at the time. So like, first of all, I'm not a woman, so I don't know if I'm the one that should be speaking on this, but also I'm speaking on it. So Tana's getting more and more views the more and more sexual she gets, because like sex sells. Her like 3 most viewed videos are like peeing on Shane Dawson, or in a bikini in a bathtub doing a sex talk with Nikki and Gabby, because men like teen girls owning and playing into their sexuality, i.e. why Bad Baby made $4 million on OnlyFans the first day after she turned 18. Like, ugh. And it's really sad that she had no role models or older women in her life to try and steer her in the right direction. Instead, she had older men like Shane and JC actively encouraging it, to a couple months later going on a date with a 43-year-old Jason Nash, and David and Jason the entire day just making jokes about whether or not Jason wants to have sex with her.
Why would she come in the dressing room with me?
In the dressing room, we were doing
Tana, why would you come into my dressing room?
And then this is the best part. Jason leans in for a kiss.
You're not giving all the information.
Oh yeah, you're
to
right.
Your
You're right. Tana's 19 years old.
Now that I know her, like I wouldn't even want to have sex with her. If you can get Tana to have a 3-way with me and Trisha, I'll fucking buy you a Ferrari. I'll do anything. I'll be your slave for a year.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
And obviously much more like extremely traumatic, horrific, non-consensual things happening behind the scenes that only she and her social circle know about. Like, it's literally a rite of passage in Hollywood for teen girls to get taken advantage of by older men. Like Kylie and Tyga, Olivia Rodrigo and Zach Bia, Billie Eilish and Jesse Rutherford, Billie Eilish and Drake, Hailey Bieber and Drake, Millie Bobby Brown and Drake, SZA and Drake, 1 billion other teen girls and Drake.
Certified lover boy, certified.
And it's sad that the same patterns continue on the internet. Not just Tana and JC Caitlin, like Brandon Calvillo and his 17-year-old girlfriend, Toddy Smith and Olivia O'Brien, and obviously James Charles. And as we get to the end of 2016, we get to her N-word scandal, and you'll see why I'm putting scandal in air quotes in a bit. So, towards the end of 2016, when Tana had over 2 million subscribers and was blowing the fuck up, some people went back, like, literally not that far in her, like, Twitter and Vine accounts, like 2 to 4 years, and found tweets, Vines, and Snapchats of Tana being extremely racist, making a joke about her dad dating a black girl, like what? Calling her black best friend, Amari, a cotton picker, telling him to go back to the plantation, calling him the N-word hard R multiple times. One of the times she's calling him the N-word, she's saying it while laying on Amari's mother's lap. So on December 1st, 2016, she goes in her Snapchat story and doesn't even apologize, just said she didn't know the meaning of the word and that she thought it just meant like homie or friend. And everyone used that word growing up. And she has Black Lives Matter in her bio, so how could she be racist? Which, like, I don't think I need to add a commentary on that, but what I will say is obviously it's a lie and that that should definitely do with the word men, because one, we live in America. Two, no one is aggressively yelling, you fucking homie. And also, she's just addressing her content with the N-word, not addressing like her telling Mari to go back to the plantation and other like racist stuff that she'd said. And then literally a week later, she tweets, iDubbbz, 3 million people subscribe to you and you openly say the N-word and retard, kill yourself. Which was really a good move for Tana, because at the same exact time, she was still getting called out for saying the N-word. So she was the biggest hypocrite to ever walk the face of the planet. Also, don't tell people to kill themselves. So iDubbbz is like, wow, she's such a hypocrite. So he goes to her tour and puts his arm around her and says, say N-word, and then says the N-word hard R, which like, but it's such like a funny, iconic moment on YouTube, right? Before I go on, I'll say all these N-word scandals leave a horrible taste in my mouth, because it's always white people canceling other white people for saying it and not really caring about the history of it. It's kind of just like a chase to be like, ooh, let's see if we can find something to cancel them. People just find it funny that Tana was crying for being called out for being a hypocrite, and iDubbbz is so iconic for doing that and blah, 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 but not like understanding the history around it. Like non-black people find it funny when it's said, or when someone's caught for like saying that word, as opposed to I think about the thousands of black people that was the last word they heard before they were fucking lynched and murdered. And I just think about like the racist history of America. But it's a funny, iconic moment in YouTube history that some white dude said the N-word hard R and an 18-year-old teenager got scared, right? So anyway, iDubbbz comes to Tana's live show and says, say N-word. And then Tana makes a video titled the N-word that is still live on her channel, where she completely over-exaggerates the story. And she's like, he gripped my shoulder and it couldn't break away, and I tried to break away 3 times before I could. And is also like, I'm not gonna say the N-word because it's not who I am. Even though it clearly is. So then iDubbbz makes a video, something called like a content cop, where he completely calls her out and exposes her for being a hypocrite. And the internet thinks it's like so funny and iconic because they both say a slur. He got 35 million views on the video, and God knows how much money and subscribers from that. So it's great that he is profiting off the oppression of black people, which, to be fair, is the most American thing a white person can do. How about both of y'all just don't say the slur? Like, it literally costs $0 not to say the N-word. So then Tana posts and monetizes a video in January of 2017, basically saying like, I'm a fuck up, I don't deserve a platform, you shouldn't subscribe to me. And she loses about 1 million subscribers and steps away from the internet for a month. And then now, as we move into 2017, there is a big shift in Tana's content after this situation. Beforehand, she was like the positive, cool, like older sister type that you feel like would be a great friend and would have your back at a party if you're ever in drama, you know? And now it's kind of like the glass shattered on the brand that she built for herself, and now she's authentically just being like a hot mess express who's a fuck up and can't do anything right. Like, she's making herself the butt of the joke. Like 2016, Tana was like, don't do this dumbass shit that I just did, and then 2017, Tana is, I'm just like a dumb bimbo that can't do anything right, you know? Like, she's openly drinking alcohol on her YouNows and in some of her vlogs at the time, and she's literally 18 years old. Like, she's doing shit like driving her friend's car while unlicensed and high on Xanax, and vlogs it and uploads it to the internet. Like, anyhow, from February to June of 2017, it's like pretty low-key in Tana's career. She's just trying to rebuild the following that she lost in January, and everything is pretty low-key until she posted a vlog titled, I tried to fuck Scott Disick and now Bella Thorne hates me. Can't even say that with a straight face. So most of y'all probably don't remember this, but post Courtney and pre-Sophia Richie, Scott Disick briefly dated Bella Thorne, who was 19 at the time. And it was the beginning of Scott Disick's 19-year-old phase, which I think he's still in. So Tana tells a story with Elijah Daniel about how she went to EDC and then went to an after party where she like kind of not really tries to hook up with Scott Disick, and Bella Thorne is basically like, stay away from my man. Bella watches the video, thinks the story is funny, and reaches out to Tana, and shortly thereafter, Bella and Tana date from the summer of 2017 to 2019. And Tana comes out as pansexual via that relationship. The relationship is extremely confusing, and at one point it becomes an open relationship that's also like a
love trapezoid with fucking Lil Xan
and Mod Sun. But yeah, Bella and Tana in the summer of 2017 hard launched their relationship, with Bella and Tana making out on a bed in this music video that Tana posted called Hefner, which is a video that Tana posted on the internet.
She sip on my pussy like nectar. She say you was good, but I'm better.
But yeah, it ends with them making out. She actually ends up making a couple more songs in 2018 and 2019. This was like the big like YouTuber making songs era. She made a song called W, which I think is her most disliked video besides the N-word. Fuck Up, which Shane Dawson used in his conspiracy documentaries, and FaceTime. But yeah, besides that, she's finally starting to grow again. In February of 2018, she hits 3 million subscribers. And at this time, she's still posting story time. She posted a story time about how she has a sleep paralysis demon that is trying to fuck her. I'm not lying. But also other videos like mukbangs with James and Jeffrey, TBT to when they were able to be in the same room together. Then in April, she makes an hour-long video about her horrible experience with VidCon and how awful the people were to her and her fans there. And she actually gets an intense amount of support from a lot of other YouTubers who talked about their bad experiences with VidCon. Hank Green, the creator of VidCon, personally reaches out and apologized to Tana. And instead of taking the W like she should have and then just moved on with her life, she announced a free convention that she was hosting across the street at the same time called TanaCon, which was, I think, without a doubt, the biggest disaster in the the history of YouTube. I'm not gonna dive too deep into it. There's a lot of people who have videos on it, and you can watch a lot of footage from that night. I'll link Ashley Norton's video down below. That's really good on it. Also, Ashley, love you. But yeah, she was gonna have a convention across the street. Some guy named Michael Weiss in the company Good Times were helping run it. And the creators that were gonna be featured there were like literally pretty big creators like Emma Chamberlain, Gabby Hanna, Colleen Ballinger, Casey Neistat, Lorray, and Shane Dawson, who never did meet and greets and was hugely popular at the time, getting over 10 million views a video. So the second Shane Dawson signed on, it added some legitimacy to it. But yeah, basically what happened was they oversold their free tickets. Only 4,500 to 5,000 people were supposed to come. Very few people could actually get in, and the few people that were inside were like the venue wasn't really much. Like Gabby Hanna saying they had like a mini wedding with Emma Chamberlain as a flower girl, and then everything just started falling apart. But yeah, after a few hours, one thing led to another because no one was able to get in, that they canceled the event. Fire marshal had to show up, and the cops and like the 25 security guards were just like, you have to go somewhere else. So that's like really dangerous to have like 20,000 people, teenagers, just out in the middle of Anaheim with like nowhere to go. Like someone could have gotten like kidnapped, there could have been a mass shooting, like so much bad shit could have happened. And it's kind of wild that Tana kind of completely skated by this unscathed, but Tana's reasoning, as I said earlier, is she had just set the bar so low for herself, so once it started falling apart, she's like, well, it's TanaCon, so obviously it's gonna fall apart because I'm Tana. And it's just like funny, and she's in on the joke, and it's just like, it's just awful. Like, I especially think about like the Astroworld tragedy recently. There could have been like a crowd crush and multiple people could have died. Like so many bad things could have happened. And it's so wild how much she like just doesn't give a fuck about anything or even her fans and stuff, and how she doesn't like feel some sense of guilt after this. Like, I give a fuck if I waved at someone and they were actually waving at the person behind me, you know? How does she not give a fuck that she endangered and wasted the money of like thousands of her fans? I guess at this time she was just like constantly zanned and coked out anyway, so I don't think there was much going on up there. But yeah, a big part of the reason that she got by mostly unscathed was Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson uploaded a multi-part documentary where he put much more of the blame on Michael Weiss and Good Times and Tana. And I didn't watch it because I will never give that racist pedophile another view. But since he was universally loved at the time for his full-time job of giving racists like Jeffree Star and Jake Paul's redemption arcs, she was able to get through the scandal mostly scot-free thanks to Shane. And then in her response video a month after like everyone said their piece, she said, I'm taking accountability, but then just like blamed literally everyone else for her problems. She's like, everyone just lied to me and I was just the face of it, but I'm taking accountability and it was my fault. Like, that's basically what the video was. And while yes, she was the face of the brand, she didn't do any of the work she needed to and just lied to everyone and said 20,000 people showed up, which wasn't true. And then she said she was going to refund everyone's ticket and travel expenses, but then just like never did any of that. Basically what she did was just she waited a month to see what public opinion was and what she was supposed to say, and then said that, all while gaslighting everyone and playing the white woman victim card. Just because you're saying I'm taking accountability doesn't mean you're actually taking accountability. Like, actions speak 18 billion times louder than words, and clearly she doesn't give a fuck. And then 6 weeks after that, at the end of the summer, she did something that is rarely brought up these days. So when Mac Miller died, she posted an alleged screenshot of their text exchange and wrote this caption about how much she loved him and how he could come and kiss her one last time. And then she later went on Zach Sing's podcast and said she met him in July of 2018, which is less than 2 months before he died, and completely over-exaggerates their relationship and talks about how Max said he needs to make art out of the TanaCon situation, which like, boo-boo, he never said that. And just like lying about your relationship with a celebrity in the wake of his death for clout is absolutely disgusting. So she makes a response video about how she wants it to be an open dialogue, but then turns off the comments because she doesn't want to be called out for her lies. Like, girl, if you wanted to post a tribute to him, you post a photo of him and then the caption is like a black heart or a broken red heart emoji, and like that's it. That's all you need to do. Don't post a screenshot of allegedly him texting you about how incredible you are. Like, what? And then a month later for Halloween 2018, she dresses up as Ho-Ho Siwa, and Shane Dawson retweets it, which like, he spoke out about how awful it was to be sexualized as a teenager, and now your Halloween costume is sexualizing a teenager. Like, and then at the end of 2018, she gets in her third public relationship with a guy named Brad Sousa, who was famous on the internet for looking like Justin Bieber and eating a burrito. The internet is very weird sometimes. But yeah, if you know about it, you know. You don't, it doesn't matter. So the relationship only lasted about 4 to 5 months, but was extremely public the entire time. When Tana falls in love, it seems like she falls in love hard and fast, and she wants to like scream it from the rooftops. According to Tana, he was very fame hungry and just used her for clout, which makes sense because in all of his YouTube videos with her, she's featured very prominently in the thumbnail and named in the title. And her 2018 starts out pretty slow, honestly. She does post her 3 funniest videos, in my opinion, at this time. The blackout trunk getting ready with Trevi, story time about when she dated Lil Xan, her roasting YouTuber Coachella outfits. However, Coachella 2019 and the aftermath, her life permanently shifts. At Coachella, Tana finds out that Brad has been cheating on her basically since they started dating. Like all 5 months. And then afterwards, she posts a video sobbing and crying about how she just wanted things to work so badly. And I do feel bad for her because no one deserves to get cheated on. And her next video is announcing her MTV reality show called Tana Turns 21 because she's about to turn 21 in June. It was on MTV's YouTube channel, not TV channel. And then her next video after that is mukbang in my bed with my rebound Jake Paul. And that video commences the beginning of her Jake Paul era. And one thing I have to point out before I start talking about this era is Tana and Jake at this time have completely rehabilitated their brands from scammers who mooch off of teens to make millions to good people who have good intentions but just broken because of their tough upbringing. And this was 1,000,000% due to Shane Dawson. Shane saved Tana's entire career after TanaCon with his documentary, like I said earlier. And Shane also had a documentary on Jake in 2018, which basically the thesis was Jake isn't a bad person. He just had an older brother that was mean to him and his parents were divorced. So now Jake had started to gain a new fan base as opposed to his original fan base of 11-year-olds from Kentucky who say the N-word. So after the rebound mukbang, people are calling out that Tana and Jake have a lot of chemistry and like them collabing together and felt like they're seeing the newer, nicer side of Jake Paul that Shane Dawson helped push. And together, these two blonde supervillains dared to do what no influencer had done before, stage a fake wedding to gain as much clout as possible. So after getting matching tattoos and Jake buying Tana a Mercedes, even though she didn't and still doesn't to this day have a license, Jake proposes to her in Vegas at Tana's 21st birthday. And 50 years after the Summer of Love, their summer of fake love begins. Correction, the Summer of Love was in 1967, Woodstock was in 1969. So they decide they're going to get married at the end of July 2019 in Vegas, and they invite basically like every influencer to their wedding. And then the drama leading up to the wedding is entirely chronicled on Tana Turns 21. And the reality show was called Tana Turns 21, but then they literally don't even show her actual 21st birthday. Like, they should have just been called the Tana and Jake Show. The lead up to this wedding was definitely the most famous Tana had ever been. Her Instagram stories were getting over 1 million views each, which has never been the case for her. As for the wedding and their relationship itself, here's my opinion, like 6 years later. It seemed like Tana did genuinely have some feelings for Jake, not like marriage feelings, but she did like him, and tends to be more submissive and following the partner's lead in relationships. And then Jake, who was fresh off his Shane Dawson redemption arc, wants to gain as much clout and money as possible, so that's why he proposed. The wedding itself was so damn ghetto and literally just a whole ass mess. It was live streamed, which you could watch for $50, but then the live stream didn't work and no one got refunds. And they staged a fake fight after the vows, but the punches thrown were real. And the wedding wasn't legal at all. They openly just did the wedding for clout. And like, straight people love to say that gay people getting married is mocking the institution of marriage. This is mocking the institution of marriage. And then right after the wedding, when they were about to go to Greece on their honeymoon, Tana's dad had a heart attack, so Tana didn't go. And Jake literally didn't care, so he went to Greece without his wife on his honeymoon. Like, what the fuck? And shortly thereafter, Tana's grandma died and Jake didn't check in. So like, that wedding was obviously one big fat publicity stunt and lie. And Jake is not a great person for not checking in on his wife. Oh, and also a week after he got back from the honeymoon, Jake went to Panera with Erica Costell, his ex-girlfriend. And then Tana sings a thank you next parody on her Instagram story and treats LMAO what the fuck. And then like a month later, they post a relationship update that is so awkward, and it genuinely looks and feels like this is the first time they've really spoken or hung out since the wedding. And it's just more evidence about how fake and for clout the entire wedding was. And then they officially break up like January 2nd, 2020. In December 2019, she wins Creator of the Year award, which like honestly made sense, or was everywhere in 2019 with like her relationship with Brad and then Jake, and then she was also collabing with like David Dobrik and Shane Dawson. Her career was flying high. I would say genuinely the peak of Tana's career was the end of 2019. And then throughout the course of 2020, her career plummets. So yeah, on the second day of 2020, Jake and Tana announced their breakup, which I'm not talking about them anymore. And then in February of 2020, Tana's reality show premiered its second season, and Tana looks horrible in it. Not like horrible, ugly horribles, and just like seeming like a really bad person who was like a stuck-up, entitled, spoiled brat. And then Trevi had just gotten sober at the time, but then Tana's like, let's go have a girls' night out, and invites Trevi. And then Trevi leaves halfway through because she's like, if I stay here, I will not be able to stay sober. And then Tana literally did not give a fuck. Like, Ashley was the one that walked outside and talked to her. Tana is also having health issues in the second season, but really doesn't give a fuck. Like, goes to the doctor and goes to the nurse and like is completely rude to her and won't do like basic things like get her blood pressure measured. And also, it's not a great look that she isn't giving a fuck about her health as this is when the pandemic is starting. Tana is being rude to her manager when he's asking her to do like basic tasks that any normal person with a normal job would do. And then in the finale, she goes back home to Vegas to be there for her best friend Amari during his surgery, but she also has a perfume launch that day. And then she literally goes to Paris Hilton's house, and Paris Hilton she views as like one of her mentors. And literally Paris says, don't go to Vegas when you have a perfume launch in LA. Like, stay in LA, do the perfume launch, and then fly out to Vegas. And then also, it's like the perfume launch is literally just her posting on an Instagram story. Like, it's not her really doing any heavy lifting. So even like she could have posted on her Instagram story in Vegas. Like, it's literally not hard at all. But then she sleeps through Amari's surgery and the perfume launch, and Amari has to call Trevi Trevi to fly out from LA to Vegas to take care of Amari. And then in her apology video, she literally just gaslights her entire audience and blames MTV in the editing for why she looks so bad, which is obviously a lie, and tried to say she told the producers that she wanted to make art for her reality show out of her depression. Like, girl, you wanted to make art out of a YouTube MTV reality show. Like, okay. And then at the end of the apology video, she says, after filming wrapped up, I got sober and I'm doing much better now. And then that is literally proven as a lie in her next video, because her next video is her just being like blackout drunk and incredibly blasted on a tour bus from Chicago to LA for 5 days, disproving what she had literally just said in her previous video. And then at the end of that apology video, she started a charity called the 1111 Project to help people affected by the pandemic. But then she pocketed the money because the people asking for the money from the charity, she just ghosted all of them. So someone who creates a charity and lying and saying it's going to help underprivileged people, but then actually just pockets all the money from their fans is a bad person, like, period. And then in June of 2020, she gets COVID for the first time, but doesn't tell her fans because she got it from partying. And then also at this time, she gets called out by 2 Black creators, Simply Nessa and Colin Berry, for her microaggressive and frankly just racist actions towards them. Tana accused Simply Nessa of spreading rumors about her, which Nessa had literally never done and always liked Tana. And then Tana literally sent her teenage fans to go attack her. And she accused Colin of trying to ruin Tana's career because Colin tried to express to Tana how it upset him that she was using the N-word. And Tana would just repeatedly spread rumors and lies about Colin, like saying he got arrested when he literally didn't. And it's like, interesting that you're saying a Black person got arrested. That's like your go-to lie. And then instead of addressing it, she just partied all summer 2020 in Calabasas with like Jake Paul and Bryce Hall. 2 houses that got their water turned off because they were blatantly violating COVID restrictions. In June of 2020, she messaged... In late June 2020, she messaged... In late June 2020, she messaged... In late June 2020, she messaged... I cannot say that. In late 2020, she DM'd Colin, saying that she wanted to hear him out and she was ready to listen and learn. And he said, okay, do you have time today or tomorrow to get on a phone call? And then she just ghosted him. And then after a summer of partying and posting it on her Instagram story constantly, every like 2 weeks, she would get called out for it. And she'd be like, I have multiple apology videos coming and just editing them and working on them, but clearly it was a lie. And then at the end of the summer, when she decided she wanted to start posting again, she has someone write an apology video for her that she's like reading off a script when she's saying the apology. Like, you can clearly tell it's not her. It's not words that she would ever use. And she posts the apology on the internet, but then never reached out to Nessa or Colin privately. So obviously the apology is bullshit. Definitely her worst received apology video since her OG N-word apology video. And by the end of 2020, she is like super flopping. She posted a story time about her best friend trying to hook up with her man. And that friend turned out to be Brooke, the girl that she does a podcast with a year later. In that video, she quite literally outs Brooke as bisexual, which Brooke wasn't out at the time, and lies about many plot points, which Brooke called out in her video. And it is a massively disliked video. And it's honestly kind of funny though. Brooke and Tana have both like gone on record saying the aftermath of that video and the fallout and then talking them out actually brought them closer and like solidified them as like best friends. Also, one thing I should point out at this time is in 2020, she switched management from Jordan to a new management company. I don't really know much to you about why she did or what happened with that. She did say that Jordan like stole a bunch of money from her, and then Trisha like kind of corroborated that because Trisha also had Jordan as a manager, but they both are known liars. So like take anything they say with a grain of salt. But when she switched management, that new management encouraged her to post on TikTok a lot. So while she was stepping back from YouTube, she was growing a bigger, newer audience on TikTok. But she's still trying to have her YouTube channel and run that. So at the beginning of 2021, she actually has a whole like David Dobrik era where she's vlogging with her friends and vlogging just in a bunch of houses that are like filled with people during the height of the pandemic. Like, it is just so bad. Like, at the time when she started this David Dobrik vlogging era, LA was the world epicenter for COVID cases and deaths. And she's getting called out for that, just getting so much hate on her YouTube channel that in February of 2021, she completely goes to her YouTube channel and is just trying to blow up on TikTok, which ends up working. She has about 8 million followers there now. And to this day, her main YouTube channel has never received the same views that it did pre-pandemic. And then in August of 2021, she starts the now very famous Cancel podcast with Brooke Schofield. And actually, she starts out with Hunter Moreno, one of her other ex-boyfriends, but he leaves after like episode 8 or something. Also, naming her podcast Canceled shows how little she gives a fuck about all of her scandals. And it's just really funny how it's like all a joke to her and she's gonna like play into that, you know? Literally in the original intro of her podcast, there's a clip from her like 2020 apology video that I just talked about in it. So clearly she didn't mean it at all. If you're gonna like use something where you felt so apologetic about in like a funny podcast intro, like what? And Canceled is a prime example about how one of the biggest issues with today's society is how anyone can have a platform. Like, this most recent election proved that men with podcasts was quite literally the downfall of society. And Tana should be included in that. Like, in her early episodes, she literally encouraged cheating. And in one of the most disgusting episodes ever, episode 27, which is still live, you can go watch it to this day, she meets with an OnlyFans model who sexualizes a newborn baby and her brother, talks about how she has eaten her partner's feces during sex, and has had sex with her cousin for her OnlyFans, which Tana calls empowering, which, like, I don't think I need to give any commentary on that. Also, one thing that's relevant to point out that I know I said earlier, Tana literally called out in episode 17 back in 2021 that she hooked up with both Cody Ko and JC Caitlin when she was 17. When Cody got canceled last summer, I was like, I've been knew these facts. It's weird when the media or the internet decides to pick up stories, you know? I mean, even with the story last year, it was picked up a little bit, but it wasn't until D'Angelo Wallace like actually called it out that it really got picked up, you know? Also, JC piped underage Tana and dated underage Leah Marie Johnson when she was 17 and JC was 22, and we all saw how Leah turned out. So like, hashtag JC Caitlin is over party 2025. Like, what? Also, fun fact, Brooke talked about the Clinton Kane situation a full year before it blew up because Clinton posted a TikTok about it. Then the podcast takes a year-long hiatus and comes back in April 2023. Obviously, it went under new management. It feels more professional for like Tana standards, like they're discussing like pop culture and stuff as well as their own personal lives drama. And the podcast is wildly popular from the beginning. It gets into the top 10 charts immediately on Apple Podcasts, and it gets over 1 million views on almost every single podcast episode. And it's very big because it feels honest and authentic, or like Tana's version of authentic, like the podcast is supposed to, and does feel like the debrief you have with your girlies like on a Sunday morning after like a night out with all your friends, you know? And then they go on tour. They've been on like 3 tours right now. The first tour was kind of like hit or miss. Some people said it was really fun. Other people said it was only like 30 minutes and then crowd work. So it kind of just seems like it depended on the mood of the night. However, at the end of their first tour, at the very last show, Tana gets asked,
"Who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with?" Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko.
there weren't any phones allowed in on the tour, but obviously someone snuck their phone in and filmed it and uploaded it to the internet. So if you were on YouTube at all last summer, you saw every single YouTuber give their hot take after D'Angelo Wallace called it out, and it was then picked up in like the mainstream YouTube media / drama channels. So I'm not going to regurgitate what you've all heard. All I'll say is, while Tana is a liar, I do believe her in this situation specifically. Gabby Hanna has corroborated the story in the past, and Tana even said a few years back that Gabby tried to sell that story to tabloids, which is really good that you want to like sell stories about like a girl being assaulted to tabloids like for drama and money. That's like a really good thing to do. Tana herself has also discussed the incident multiple times, and the most damning of all, if it wasn't true, Cody would have come out and said it wasn't true at this point, you know? And this revealed how much progress we have not made as a society. Like YouTube / the internet tries to pretend that it's like further on the left when calling people out, but like if the criminal is likable and the victim is unlikable, then like no one cares, you know? Like literally this has been known for years and no one cared or called it out until D'Angelo brought up the situation. And I would like to say Tana's reaction to this on her podcast felt very mature to me personally. Like she definitely was not trying to profit off the scandal. She doesn't even mention Cody Ko by name or put him in the title. Like she talks about how this situation with Cody Ko was nothing compared to all the shit that she went through at like 17 and 18. And it's hard for her to even realize that she was taken advantage of in this situation. She talked about how this situation with Cody was absolutely nothing compared to all the like dark shit she has been through. And it's hard for her to even realize that she was taken advantage of in this situation because of how much horrible shit has happened to her in like YouTube and like LA since she got famous at 17. And how like dark it is for how many people are calling her a slut and a whore for coming out with this story. And they're all saying that she's just an attention whore and wants attention. But like I said earlier, if she wanted attention, she would have at least like mentioned Cody Ko's name in the podcast where she talks about it. Like it's at episode 88 if you want to watch it, but like I had to go back and look for it. So then the podcast starts really blowing up with the Cody Ko situation. Then right after that, Clinton Kane posts a TikTok saying, and then Brooke in the next few episodes basically just talks about how insane some of the lies that he said to her were. Like, for example, he lied about his mom being dead. He lied about what country she's from. She's either from the Philippines or Brunei, but he said she was like a Norwegian blonde woman. So like, also at this time, as the podcast is really blowing up, they get into this mini drama with Alyssa Violet. And then basically this shows kind of like a turning point in their podcast where their podcast was about like them being canceled, but they just start using the podcast to send their fans as a hate mob to like cancel people like Clinton Kane, Alyssa Violet, and Zach Sang. And then right as they're blowing up and the podcast is hitting like the peak of its career, they're getting like 3 million views a video. People dig up old racist tweets from Brooke about her voting for Trump, saying racist things and saying George Zimmerman shooting Trayvon Martin was self-defense. And hot take, as a Black American, I literally could not give less of a fuck about what some white influencer tweeted when they're below the age of 18. What? Someone called Tana as racist? What? Who would have guessed? Like 51% of Americans just voted to put a racist, sundowning felon into America's highest office. I literally could not give less of a fuck about Brooke Schofield tweeting something from when she was 15. Like, what? I'm not condoning it or saying what she said was okay at all. Please don't misunderstand me, but you literally could not pay me to care that a white girl from Arizona voted for Trump in 2016. Like, and then Tana goes on the podcast and disavows everything that Brooke said and says what she's supposed to say, even though she condoned it at first in Brooke's like TikTok apology saying, "We grew up bad and I love you, red heart emoji," but then saw the public backlash to her comment and then changed her tone. But like, Tana, how are you going to disavow Brooke for her racist tweets when you literally had even more racist tweets that you tweeted at the same time that Brooke tweeted hers? Like, literally what? Also at this time, when people were mad about Brooke's racist tweets from like a decade ago, something that Tana did more recently that's a million times worse got a fraction of the coverage. Tana announced back in 2021 that she was starting an agency for younger girls who wanted to make it big on social media called Tana's Angels. The company was supposed to be Tana guiding young girls through the crazy like OnlyFans social media world and help them not make the same mistakes she did. Unsurprisingly, turns out it was an extremely predatory scam where agencies took a huge cut and didn't do much besides encourage teenagers and young adult girls to start an OnlyFans. And while I think it's important to destigmatize sex work, I don't think it is like the best thing to like encourage 19-year-old girls to start OnlyFans, you know? People called Tana like a digital pimp, which is true because that's exactly what Tana was doing. Getting girls to do sex work and then living off of a portion of the profits is literally being a pimp. Like Tana, you talk about how you were sexualized and taken advantage of in the industry at such a young age and how much it fucked you up, and now you're doing the same exact thing and continuing the cycle. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, since then they haven't had any like major scandals besides like Brooke and Tana might not like each other anymore. They just announced the podcast is ending. Like, they pretended to care about racism but then didn't understand why the only major American city with a majority black population, Baltimore, didn't like them, and not anyone came to that show. They also had like YouTube's Donald Trump, Jeffree Star, on the podcast, who is literally a known racist and is famous for calling female black influencer Jackie Aina a gorilla and wanting to throw battery acid on her to lighten her skin. So y'all care about black lives and being anti-racist, but then you have YouTube's second biggest racist on your podcast. And in that podcast, you talk about how you want to have YouTube's OG and biggest racist, Shane Dawson, on. Obviously, every apology they've ever had means nothing because actions speak more loudly than words. Like, we all knew this, but I just gotta say it again. And there's like some drama with Brooke because her now boyfriend, I think, either was dating underage girls or cheating a lot of people. I don't really know. I didn't really keep up with that. And this is a video about Tana, not Brooke. But yeah, there's still like mini scandals, but nothing as big as the racism scandals that they had last year. And the podcast is supposed to end at the end of 2025. So what can we conclude from Tana's career? Tana started out by telling lies to millions of teenagers, and since then has only gotten worse. Throughout her countless scandals, clear racism, and doing things like creating fake charities and running a pimp agency, like, she's not that great of a person. Tana seems like she found her soulmate in Makoa, her boyfriend who lives in Hawaii. And it seems like after the podcast ends, Tana may just move to Hawaii, leave social media, and just ride off into the sunset, which I think is the best decision for her and the rest of the internet. Like, I think her influence on her followers is a net negative for society. Like, girl, go home. But yeah, that was my video on the life and career of Tana Mongeau. Please comment your thoughts below. I am so curious to hear what other people have to say, their thoughts, things that I missed, and if I got anything wrong. And with that, I will see you on the next one. Bye.